Hello and welcome to the Slumberous Soft Book Nook, a podcast about all things books, publishing, and more. My name is Emma, and today my guest is Alyshia Ford. I've been looking so forward to having Ali on the podcast. Ali runs a popular travel YouTube channel under the name PsychoTraveller. Ali also runs a travel blog and is also a published author. Now on with the show. Hello, Ali. Hello. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you so much for having me.
I know this is such a bizarre thing. Watching a person that I've watched on YouTube for so long finally coming onto my podcast is just crazy. Thank you.
No, honestly, I've been really looking forward to this.
Yes, exactly. So you've got a bit of a different background. So you started on YouTube as a travel would you say travel YouTuber, you
Yeah,
blogger, and then
yeah.
obviously then you wrote a book, which some people do, but it's has it been quite a different journey for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to write a book for the longest time, ever since I was a kid, really. And then when I went to university, I just knew I wanted to write something, but I never knew what that would be. So yeah, I think it did take a bit of a different turn from other YouTubers. I think it's a very different kind of story.
Yeah, of course. And I think when you first started thinking and think about your process and how you were going to start writing your book, how did you begin with ideas? And I know your travels influenced your writing quite a bit. So how did you begin that writing process?
I just started collecting stories. Like when I worked on the sheep station or in the outback, I just had these stories that didn't want to necessarily put on my blog. So I was just collecting them, and I was like, maybe by the end of this, if I just carry on writing all these little stories here and there, I'd have something that I could, make a little book out of. Little did I know then that the turn life was going to take, um, yeah, to what happened.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's just when you're writing it is such a you have to like sort of explore so much of what you've been through when you come to writing your own personal journey. I guess when you write a fiction book, you can sort of elaborate with characters, can't you, and sort of
Yeah.
things like that. Um, do you think that it was quite a big step when you started writing about your own sort of personal events?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was something I wrote about as a sort of therapy
Yeah,
at the time when it was happening. And it was the hardest thing to do and write about. Because, like you said, if you're writing fiction, then you can delve into these fantasy characters and you have a creative license to do whatever you want in that story. Whereas my story was set in stone, it's something that happened, and I had to relive it every single time I went to write about it or reread a chapter. So I had to pull on those memories in my writing process time and time again, which made it obviously extremely difficult. And this is why it took so long to finally get published.
yeah, exactly. And when I've seen obviously your videos before. So when you were saying, "Oh, I'm writing my book and I've got a certain amount of words that I need to do,"
Hmm.
so when you began sort of your process, so obviously when you were traveling, how did you sort of balance your YouTube channel, your blog, and like your writing in terms of a schedule?
Not very well.
Sounds like my uni schedule.
I always admire the idea of a schedule and I always try and make one, but sticking to it is a whole different thing, especially when you're out living on the road. So I decided I had to put my blog on hold completely because just managing a YouTube channel and writing a blog at the same time when you're trying to produce as much content as possible is almost next to impossible on your own as a single person. So when it came to me having to put more time into writing my book, I had to just put my blog aside and stop writing on it because my creativity was kind of burning out for writing when I was trying to do both blog and book. So I
Yeah.
had to make that executive decision to just stop blogging for a while.
Yeah, because obviously you have to change. Obviously, you've had a bit of experience, sorry, writing different kinds of content. Would you
Yeah.
say? So you've kind of developed. Would you say a writing technique through blogging? Has it helped you sort of learn how to write differently?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially more of the long form blog content that I used to do. When you have such a short amount of time as well, because you want to, turn over once you've been on a trip, you want to write about it and get it out. So that whole time management of not spending forever like editing before you write kind of situation, blogging taught me, because I could be a little bit more relaxed and still produce a blog I was super proud of that people would enjoy reading and took something from, that I didn't have to keep, spend hours and hours and hours over a few paragraphs. Blogging taught me just to write, just start writing and don't stop. Edit it later and you'll save yourself a ton of time. So that definitely I brought over into writing my book.
I know editing I find the most tedious part of writing, because it is you when you know the mistakes when other people point them out to you, but when you proofread your own work, I always
Yes.
end up saying, "Oh no, it's absolutely fine."
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You get so blind to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So yeah, I know. I've done it for other people, going, "Yeah, this is a mistake. This is a mistake," and they're like, "Oh, I didn't spot how
Especially like
silly
it's a
mistake."
huge mistake, like a massive spelling mistake or something like that, or a sentence doesn't make sense and someone points it out and you're like, oh my God, I read that 10 times. How did I not see that?
I know. It's always good when you know that people can spot this stuff. I've
Yeah, I
definitely
know.
done.
That's why you hire an editor.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know. One of my friends, an editor, is like, wait, she reviewed like one of bits of my work, and it's like, oh, what's this sentence? It makes like literally no sense. And I was like, thank you. Now I feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, in terms of publishing your book, you sort of had a very kind of different journey than most of my guests have had, because obviously a lot of my guests have obviously been published by a big publisher or an indie publisher. Their books that had kind of been through that process. So, how different was going the self-publishing route, and how did you decide to self-publish? Why did you decide to self-publish your novel?
I wanted to self-publish, one, because after reading, well, one, finding a publisher is ridiculously difficult for a first-time, author. So that was obviously like, oh, scary. But there was just too many cons for me personally on the traditional publishing route. The strict deadlines they give you. Like I said, this was a book that I poured my heart and soul in, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Well, maybe second or third hardest thing. But I didn't want someone to be breathing down my neck, like, right, get part 2 of your book done in the next 10 days. And I'd sit there and have breakdown after breakdown and have to deal with my anxiety and PTSD. I didn't want that restriction. Also, I wanted to have more control over how I marketed my book. That was one of the hardest things I found in the self-publishing process, because I'm not a marketer,
No.
and I didn't want to glamorize the book. I wanted to get the word out and obviously sell copies, but I didn't want to glamorize it and make it all dramatic and, oh, what's this book about? So that, was really difficult for me to do by myself, but I'm super happy. Oh, and also I get a much better cut when I'm publishing.
Yes, exactly. Especially because obviously you're self-employed, aren't you? So
Yeah.
it kind of makes you have way more control over your own sort of publicity of it. And
Yeah.
do you feel a lot better that way, that you can go, right, I can put it on my own website, and then I can link it to my own store, or obviously through
Yeah.
other websites? Do you think that that was like a bit more of a comfort for you, in terms of like, I've got complete control over this book,
Absolutely.
and you're just like, this is the best for me, this fits best for me?
Yeah, I didn't have to answer to anyone. I know that people who go down traditional publishing, there's a lot of T's and C's you have to sign. Um, and whilst I still dream of seeing my book on an airport bookshelf, and I'm not going to lie, I still look for that just in case, because it is a possibility that I can be in bookstores, even though I'm self-published. I can be on a bookshelf somewhere. So that would have been amazing. All that kind of stuff a publisher can do, but no. It was nice that I could do it in my own time, being something so personal and scary to do. And yeah, just I enjoyed the control I had.
Yeah, because a lot more people are going down the self-publishing route now, because I think that it's a growing industry in itself, and obviously now anybody can sort of write and publish their own books, and obviously there's so many. it takes a lot to sort of stand out in a crowd of books, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So would you say that um, it gave you an incentive to go, right, this is what I want to do now in terms
Oh
of
yeah,
writing?
yeah. It definitely. I mean, I didn't know how it was going to go, especially when you, like you said, self-publishing. It's hard to make yourself known. I was extremely fortunate to have an audience, a very, very supportive audience. But no, it's definitely been an eye opener. It was super easy, and I know a lot of people want to go down the self publishing route, which I would completely support and recommend. But for me personally, I'd do it again, self publish.
That's awesome. Because also you made a video on self-publishing, so if people want to know a little bit more, you have a video that talks about your self-publishing process, don't you?
Yes, I do, yes, with
Cool.
all the pros and cons and things to look out for.
Oh, definitely. There's lots of pros and cons with everything, as they
Yeah.
say. So no, that's great. So sort of going ahead, I know we sort of touched on it briefly. What are your future writing plans? Would you like to write a book? Because I know that you put it on Twitter last night. It's like, if I was to write another book, what would you guys like?
Yeah, I mean, I will write another book in my lifetime. Um, I don't know when it would happen. It's just the thing is, I don't know what I would write about now. That my book was something that was just so close to me. I was so unbelievably passionate about. It's almost like, how do I top that? How do I, yeah, create something like that again? So I don't know. It's definitely in the back of my mind, but I don't want to rush the idea behind it.
Yeah, as I said, it's a process of getting ideas and stuff together. Some people take. I spoke to one author a couple of weeks ago, and it took them like 5 years to publish one manuscript because they just were unsure about it. They kept coming back to it.
Hmm.
Um, do you think that that might be sort of where the angle that you might go? So if you just start writing something and then just like maybe come back to it in a while.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, my Where Is She took me 2.5 years, probably even longer, 3 years, from the time I started collecting stories to the time I finished it. Um, but I think for my next one, it'll definitely be one of those that just kind of brews in the background. And I might brainstorm a lot and write things down, but I think it'll definitely be, a few years down the line, maybe.
Yeah. Do you like have writing sort of like inspirational moments? So you just start writing and then you're just like, I can't stop writing. Did you ever have any of those moments?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I still don't blog very often. I have thought a lot about getting back into blogging. Now, I kind of took a break from writing completely after my book, because anyone who's published a book will say you just want to put your head in a blender, the book out the window, and you never want to touch your keyboard ever again.
Just leave it alone and walk away and just go and sit in a dark room and just like
Yeah,
just think about that you don't have to do it for a while.
yeah. But I mean, it's almost been what, 9 months now since it was published, so um, I still do get those moments where I just want to sit down and just type, even if it's for no particular purpose. And whenever I do get that feeling, I make sure I just give myself 10, 15 minutes to get it out of me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you lose it. You know what I mean? If you don't write it down or take action on something, it's dead.
As you said,
So,
yeah, the
yeah.
best ideas always come to you when you least expect them, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So even if it's like a voice recording on my phone or something, whatever the idea is, I make sure I take action on it really quickly, even if it doesn't, come to anything. But yeah.
Cool. So, what would your advice be for people like wanting to write, just to get out there and just start writing just anything? I know some. I kind of want to take a bit of different angle because I know you did travel blogging, so I know there's some people that probably might be interested in this. You could do it from both angles, so your book and your blog, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, for my book, I'd say if you're thinking about writing a book, I know most people give the advice to just start writing, and I do agree with that. That's the biggest one, just start writing. But I'd also say if you're thinking about doing a book, make sure that 1,000,000% of your heart and soul is in what you are writing about. Because the process can be so demanding and so draining on you physically and mentally. That if you don't like completely, absolutely love what you are writing about and believe in the cause, you will fail because it's such a hard process and it gets harder and harder the closer it gets to being published. That if it's not something you truly believe in, you will just give up. So just make sure you are picking something to write about that you can eat, drink, and breathe in every single day for the next couple of years.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's like, as they say that about maybe when you're doing your dissertation at uni, it's something that you kind of need to be immersed in, because else you
Yeah.
will slowly crumble and cry and
I mean, we'll still cry. I love my dissertation topic, but you still shed a tear now and again, no matter how much you love it.
I didn't start mine yet, and I'm already thinking about like I don't want it. But as I said, you'll get there. In terms of sort of travel writing, where would you recommend that someone sort of would start with that? Because I know there's such a community of people that want to get into it, but they're just like, how do I get in to start the travel writing?
Yeah, I think for me, I also give this advice for anyone who wants to start doing social media or YouTube or things like that is, and it sounds super cliche, but find what makes you you. Because it's so crowded now, the vlogging world, everything. Writing online, everyone's doing it, and it can be really intimidating. But what no one else will have is you, and you will have those little quirks, those certain personality traits. So I'd recommend you putting that into your writing. Focus your work around what makes you special. Um, because no one else is going to have that. For me, I'm super blunt and open and honest with people. So I really harnessed that a few years ago on my channel and on my blog and everything I did. Whatever I produced, whatever I wrote, whatever I filmed, I just really harnessed who I was, and it really worked for me. So don't try and be everyone else. You don't have to do the top 10 things to do in Tokyo. If you want to go to Tokyo and find amazing fashion stores, or go out there on a budget and have a massive, shopping spree, or find the best craft drinks there, then do that. Don't be afraid to do what you truly want to do because you think, no, this will get me more viewers, more readers. Honestly, just find who you are and just roll with it.
That's cool. That is kind of applies to quite a lot of online content as well,
Yeah.
especially with podcasting has become massive now, and you don't realize how many people are doing everything. So it's
Yeah,
always good to like try and do your own thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, is that you need to be you and do what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You really do. And it's really hard sometimes, though, to listen to that advice, because you see things that are working for others and the way other people are doing things. And while you can take inspiration and learn and grow, and you should be learning and growing from people who are successful, always do you, because there are other people who are going to be attracted to that because they can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, as I
Yeah.
said, it's always good to take inspiration, which is always a good thing. So, yeah, awesome. So the final question always stumps people every week. I know I let you know this before you came on, and obviously I see you reading a lot of books, obviously on your travels, and stuff like that, and also you like your crime thrillers. But what is a book that you've read recently? Would you like to recommend to people? So like one that you've either took on your travels or one you just read at home, or
Yeah, so I've already recommended this, and actually quite a few people read it after I recommended this about a month ago. But it's called Reaching Down the Rabbit Hole, and it's by Alan Roper, and it's about extraordinary journeys into the human brain, which obviously, as a psych graduate, interests me a lot. It's about a neurologist, and he talks about his stories working with the most unusual neurological conditions he's ever faced in like a 40-year career. And yeah, he delves into each of his patients, and it's just a fascinating world. And it's such a different kind of book. It's a very different kind of read. But I totally recommend it. I could not put it down.
yeah, we always look a good page turner on this podcast. I know we always
Yes.
like a different book, because it's always good, to read different things. And I've always like my TBR pile is pretty big in terms of books. So that's going to be another one I'm going to add to the list. So thank you very much.
No worries. Yeah,
More,
definitely.
more money, hooray! Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome to have you on. Very, very interesting talk. So thank you very much. All right. Thank
No,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. You can follow Ali on Twitter at PsychoTraveller. You can also subscribe to her YouTube channel under the same name as PsychoTraveller. If you'd like to be involved with the podcast, you can get in touch through Twitter at novelim16 and use the hashtag Slothcast, or you can send me an email at slumberslothbooknook@gmail.com. You can always find the podcast on our YouTube channel, Slumber Sloth Book Nook, or you can download it from Podbean and Apple Podcasts for an on-the-go experience. See you next week. Bye.